If you thought this blue-face Chrisean Karlissa universe had reached its final season, buckle up, because the writers just dropped a plot twist so reckless it makes Zeus and Hera look like a loving, functional couple. We're talking about the kind of drama that forces the internet to stop mid-scroll, rewind, squint, and say, "Hold up, did she really just say that?" Yes, she did, because Karlissa, Blueface's mother, Instagram Live's self-appointed First Lady of Chaos, has officially crossed the line, erased the line, redrew the line, then burned the line to ashes. Out of nowhere, in a rant that sounded like she swallowed a whole megaphone and a full bottle of audacity, she called baby Junior slow. A baby, a tiny human who still thinks ceiling fans are UFOs. A child who hasn't even learned the alphabet but is already being dragged into adult beef like he's running for political office. And the moment that word dropped, Chrisean Rock didn't just react, she exploded. She flew online with the force of 1,000 reality TV reunions, swinging verbal chairs, tossing spiritual hands, and making it clear that if you come for her baby, she's coming for your entire soul. And trust me, this is only the beginning. From the very moment Chrisean Rock brought baby Junior into this world, everyone knew one thing for sure. This child was going to grow up surrounded by more chaos than a reality show reunion filmed inside a hurricane. The Blueface family tree doesn't branch. It explodes. And every few days, a new storyline drops like the writers are speedrunning the messiest soap opera ever created. But even with all the drama, nobody expected Karlissa to take things this far. Nobody thought she'd wake up, grab her phone, open Instagram Live like it was her personal press conference, and decide today was the day she was going to roast an infant. But that's exactly what happened. Because if there's one thing consistent about Karlissa, it's that she treats crossing the line like it's a competitive sport. She doesn't tiptoe into controversy, she sprints into it like she's racing for a championship belt. And this time, in one of the most reckless rants she's ever delivered, she didn't go after Blueface, or Jiden, or Chrisean. No, she went after baby Junior, a child barely old enough to understand why everyone around him is yelling all the time. She called him slow, and the internet felt the impact like an emotional earthquake. It all started with one of her usual rants. You know, the ones where she claims she's the only one with sense, the only one who's right, the only one who's seeing the truth while the rest of the world is blind. She hopped on live, started talking about how she knows what she knows, started throwing shade at everybody, and before viewers could even blink, she targeted Junior, and not with a subtle, petty comment. She went straight for the jugular, like she was auditioning for a villain role. The word slipped out casually, almost like she said it by accident. Except everyone knows Karlissa doesn't do accidents. Every word she speaks is dipped in pure ego, sprinkled with bitterness, and delivered with the confidence of a person who believes the world is always wrong and she is always right. When she called that baby slow, she didn't blink. She didn't pause. She didn't even hesitate. It was delivered with full chest, full volume, full conviction. And the internet stopped. People were in the comments typing in all caps like their keyboards owed them money. Fans were demanding explanations, supporters were flipping sides mid-sentence, and neutral viewers were suddenly emotionally invested like they were watching the season finale of the wildest reality show on Earth. Even people who don't keep up with the Blueface saga were suddenly screen recording, rewinding, analyzing, sending clips to their group chats like, "I can't believe she said this about a baby." Because here's the raw truth. Dragging a grown adult into drama is one thing. Trashing someone's kid, especially a baby, is a whole different battleground. It doesn't matter how messy the parents are. It doesn't matter how toxic the family is. You don't attack someone who can't defend themselves. And you definitely don't expect the internet to sit quietly and politely nod like this is normal behavior. Meanwhile, Chrisean Rock was living her life, probably thinking the drama had taken a short vacation. Maybe she thought Karlissa was busy with something else. Maybe she thought the shade for the week had already been used up. But the moment viewers started tagging her, DMing her, sending her clips, and blowing up her notifications like an alarm system, everything changed. Because if there's one thing you never do, it's talk about Chrisean's baby. Chrisean might let people talk about her music, her past, her relationships, her mistakes. But baby Junior, the second you mention him, the Baltimore lion in her wakes up. And that lion does not play. When she saw the clip, her entire soul shifted. You could almost feel her energy change through the phone. She didn't yell right away. She didn't come online screaming immediately. No. She did that thing mothers do when they're past anger, when they've entered the realm of pure volcanic fury. It was that quiet, intense reaction that makes everyone around her say, "Oh no, it's about to get real." And then she logged in. The moment she hit the live button, people flooded in like they were attending a digital boxing match. Comments flew across the screen at lightning speed. Viewers were screen recording before she even opened her mouth, and the entire internet prepared for impact like they were bracing for an asteroid. Because when Chrisean reacts, she doesn't do half power. She goes nuclear. She started talking calmly, almost too calmly, explaining how tired she was of being the punching bag for Blueface's family. She spoke about how she carried that baby, alone, protected him alone, fed him, loved him, fought for him. She reminded everyone watching that she's been through battles most people wouldn't survive. And then, slowly, with that signature Chrisean intensity rising like a tidal wave, she snapped. She called Karlissa out by name. She called the comment sick, twisted, unnecessary. She said no grown woman should ever attack a child. And she didn't stop there. She dragged the entire family dynamic into the spotlight like she was pulling back the curtains on a broken circus. She reminded everyone of every shady moment, every disrespectful comment, every chaotic encounter. She threaded the story together like she was narrating a documentary full of betrayal, resentment, and long-term dysfunction. It wasn't just anger, it was Judgment Day. Meanwhile, the internet was eating it up like a buffet. Memes popped up instantly. People were creating reaction videos faster than TikTok could process the uploads. Commentators were already scripting their own breakdowns. Even celebrities were lurking, watching, observing like they were witnessing a digital car crash they couldn't look away from. But here's the wild part. The deeper viewers went into the beef, the more they realized this wasn't just another random clash. This wasn't just a petty rumor or some accidental misunderstanding. This was a full-blown generational war layered with resentment, old wounds, ego battles, and explosive personalities. And the spark that ignited it? One reckless word aimed at an innocent child. That word didn't just start drama, it opened a Pandora's box of emotions, loyalty shifts, and online division. It exposed the fragile threads holding this chaotic family web together. It reminded everyone watching that when it comes to the Blueface universe, peace is a fantasy, stability is a myth, and every week brings a new explosion. And as the smoke of the first reaction settled, the internet began asking the question. Nobody wanted to say out loud, how far is this going to go? Because from the looks of it, this was only the beginning. The moment the clip of Karlissa calling Baby Jr. slow spread across social media, the internet didn't just react, it detonated. It was like someone dropped a grenade into the group chat of every gossip page, reaction channel, meme account, and messy Twitter space that thrives on other people's chaos. Suddenly, timelines were filled with screenshots, quotes, slowed down rewinds, circle and zoom edits, and captions like, "Ain't no way she said this about a baby." The outrage spread faster than a leaked celebrity DM. And this is where the saga truly escalated, because once the public gets involved, especially this public, the drama goes from gasoline to full wildfire. People on TikTok wasted no time stitching the clip with dramatic music, commentary voices, and facial expressions that ranged from disbelief to disgust. They weren't subtle either. One girl said, "Calling a baby slow? Girl, you raised Blueface. If anyone should stay quiet about development, it's you." Another told Karlissa to log off and try therapy, and someone else asked why she was beefing with an infant like he owed her child support. The memes were vicious. One showed Baby Jr. sitting in a high chair with sunglasses on, responding to Karlissa's comment like a mafia boss. Another had Chrisean edited as the Incredible Hulk, smashing through Karlissa's door yelling, "Slow, who?" The internet wasn't just reacting. They were roasting, analyzing, theorizing, and dragging Karlissa to digital court like she had committed a federal crime. Even celebrities started stepping in. Some of them liked shady posts. Some commented with cryptic emojis. A few went live hinting that when elders behave like teenagers, they get treated like teenagers. One influencer said, "Imagine being grown and arguing with a baby who doesn't even know what a triangle is yet." The shade was brutal and the tone was clear. People were not letting this slide. Not today, not tomorrow, not anytime this century. But the real chaos erupted when Blueface decided to speak. Now, everyone knows Blueface treats social media like it's a playground where accountability goes to die. One minute he's defending his mother, the next he's shading her, then he's praising her, then he's roasting her again. Watching him choose a side is like watching someone flip a coin, drop it, shrug, then pick a random answer anyway. And in moments like this, people knew he'd respond, but nobody knew how. He logged on Twitter first because of course he did, and instead of calming the situation down like a reasonable adult, he added more fuel, like he ordered extra gasoline just for fun. He said something vague about people being too sensitive and kids growing up fine. He also mentioned mothers knowing best, which left people wondering if he was defending Karlissa or throwing shade at Chrisean. The ambiguity was messy, the timing was messy, and the public reaction? Even messier, Chrisean saw the tweets instantly. Her reaction wasn't disappointed, it was volcanic. She went back on live and told the world Blueface should have stayed silent instead of playing neutral like he was hosting a game show. She said real fathers protect their kids, not stand between women who shouldn't be fighting in the first place. She questioned whether Blueface even understood how serious it was for his own mother to insult his child. And every sentence she spoke came with the intensity of a woman sick of being disrespected, dismissed, and dragged by people who should know better. The comments were cheering her on like she was in the final round of a championship match. People typed, "Say it again," "Read them," and "We stand with GR." Every word she delivered felt like a slap, and viewers felt every impact. It didn't matter what team they usually supported. In that moment, they weren't picking between Chrisean and Karlissa. They were picking between right and wrong. And most felt this wasn't even a debate. Meanwhile, rumor pages were having the time of their lives. They posted every screenshot, every clip, every tweet, every side-eye emoji, every reaction from random people who had nothing to do with the situation. One page even created a full timeline of the feud, complete with dramatic music and narrated captions like it was a documentary on betrayal. Another page speculated whether this feud would affect Junior's future relationship with his grandmother. People were talking like the baby was already old enough to unfollow her on Instagram. And the conspiracies? Absolutely off the rails. Some said Karlissa was jealous of how much attention Junior gets online. Others said she was projecting her frustrations with her son onto the baby. A few even claimed that she was trying to provoke Chrisean for clout because her follower count jumps whenever she starts drama. No one could fully explain why an adult woman would beef with someone who can't even form sentences yet, but they were trying. The theories just kept coming, each more dramatic than the last. At one point, the drama reached such a peak that even random rappers started chiming in. One posted a laughing emoji under a meme of Karlissa holding a beefing with babies trophy. Another said he respects Chrisean because a mom who defends her kid is a mom who don't play. Suddenly, it wasn't just fans watching, it was the entire hip-hop community sipping their tea quietly, pretending not to stare while absolutely staring. But the wildest twist? Old clips of Karlissa resurfaced. Clips of her calling Blueface slow. Clips of her shading her other grandchildren. Clips of her throwing tantrums like a teenager grounded for sneaking out. The internet turned into a full-blown archive department, pulling out footage from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe footage recorded in hieroglyphics if they could find it. Every video seemed to reinforce the same message. This wasn't a slip-up. This was a pattern, and that is when the narrative shifted. People stopped laughing and started connecting dots. They started asking why Karlissa always seemed to go after the children when she was mad at the adults. They questioned whether her insults were rooted in resentment, insecurity, or something deeper. Some said she's desperate to control the narrative because she feels replaced in Blueface's life. Others argued she's addicted to attention and doesn't care if it's positive or negative. Whatever the reason, the internet agreed on one thing. She crossed a boundary no grandmother should ever cross. While all this was happening, Chrisean kept gaining support. People praised how passionately she defended her son. They argued she had every right to be furious. They said mothers like her don't need permission to react. They just react. The more the drama grew, the more people rallied around her as if she were the hero of a chaotic series with real stakes. But deep beneath the memes, reactions, jokes, and hot takes, one unsettling question lingered. If Karlissa was willing to say this about an innocent baby on camera, what is she saying off camera? And that thought alone set the stage for the aftermath that came next. As the internet continued melting down from Karlissa's insult toward baby Junior, the aftermath grew into something far bigger than anyone expected. This wasn't just a trending topic anymore. This wasn't just another messy moment in the never-ending Blueface cinematic circus. No. This turned into a public reckoning, a full-blown cultural debate about boundaries, respect, generational trauma, and how far adults should go when emotions explode on social media. The dust didn't settle. It shifted into a storm that swept everyone into the center. Because after the initial shock faded, people began asking the real question: what happens now? How does a family heal after a grandmother calls her own grandchild slow in front of millions? How do bridges get rebuilt when they're not just burned, they're vaporized? And more importantly, what does this mean for baby Junior's relationships in the future? Let's be honest, the internet doesn't forget. Screenshots live forever. Clips get reposted like seasonal memes. Comments get dug up years later like digital fossils. And Karlissa didn't just throw a random insult into the air. She carved her words into the permanent archives of social media. That single line, that single moment, is now part of pop culture history, whether she intended it or not. And people immediately started discussing the long-term effects. Some pointed out that Junior is going to grow up one day, scroll the internet, see these clips, and wonder why a grandmother he barely knew was beefing with him before he could walk. Others said the damage isn't just emotional, it's reputational. Because, in a twisted way, Junior has become a character in a drama he didn't sign up for. A baby shouldn't have public enemies or trending hashtags attached to his name, yet here he is, unintentionally stuck in the spotlight of someone else's dysfunction. Meanwhile, public opinion toward Karlissa went downhill fast. Whatever sympathy she once had evaporated like spilled alcohol on a flame. People used to defend her in certain situations, saying she was hurt, misunderstood, overshadowed, or emotional. But now the timeline flipped completely. Suddenly she was being labeled bitter, jealous, unstable, reckless, and worst of all, incapable of understanding the seriousness of attacking a child. And she didn't help herself either, because instead of apologizing, she doubled down. She attempted to explain herself, but every explanation dug her deeper into a hole so big she could have discovered dinosaur bones. She claimed people were twisting her words, even though the clip was clear as daylight. She hinted that she was trying to help, which confused everyone because nobody in history has ever helped a baby by calling them slow. She implied Chrisean was overreacting, and that alone sent viewers into a rage spiral. Every time she spoke, the backlash intensified. It felt like watching someone try to put out a fire by throwing gasoline, glitter, and fireworks into it. Entertaining? Absolutely. Sensible? Not even slightly. Meanwhile, the spotlight turned toward Blueface again, this time with sharper scrutiny. People questioned his silence, his vague tweets, his inability to stand firm. Fans called him out for failing to protect Junior emotionally. They criticized his attempt to play mediator like the situation was a minor disagreement, instead of a full-on moral crisis. His neutrality didn't read as calm, it read as careless. And for the first time in a long time, the world seemed to unite on one message. Kids don't belong in grown people's wars. The pressure got so intense that a few of Blueface's own supporters demanded he reconnect with reality and put boundaries between his mother and his child. They said if he couldn't handle it, then Chrisean should. They said Junior's safety, emotional and physical, comes first, not somebody's need to go viral on live. And as all this unfolded, Chrisean did something unexpected. She went quiet. Something unexpected. She went quiet. Not a defeated quiet, a strategic one. The type of silence that comes after a storm, when the sky is rebuilding itself. The type of silence that makes everyone nervous because they don't know if she's letting things cool down, or preparing something seismic. People started speculating whether she was taking legal steps, cutting ties, or simply focusing on her child instead of fighting online. Her silence didn't make the drama fade, it made it louder. Because when Chrisean stops talking, the internet starts filling in the blanks. People began theorizing about restraining orders, permanent family splits, custody shifts, and emotional boundaries being drawn in concrete. Comment sections turned into virtual think tanks predicting how this saga might reshape the entire Blueface family tree, and then came the consequences nobody predicted. Extended families started chiming in. Some supported Chrisean privately. Some supported Karlissa publicly. Some stayed out of it entirely, afraid to get swept into the digital tornado. But a few bold relatives posted subtle shade that made everything worse. Cryptic posts like, "Some people need healing," or "Protect your peace," only amplified the drama. Rumor pages claimed Karlissa's access to Junior might be restricted going forward. Others said Chrisean blocked her everywhere. Some hinted that Blueface was trying to negotiate behind the scenes, but getting nowhere. Whether true or exaggerated, these reports spread like wildfire because the situation was already combustible. This feud wasn't just generational, it was nuclear. And beyond the family fallout, something deeper happened. The public started choosing sides in a way that shaped the cultural narrative. On one side, you had mothers who felt deeply triggered by Karlissa's attack. On the other, a minority defending her by saying she was emotional and spoke without thinking. The overwhelming majority, however, agreed that a grandmother targeting a baby crosses a universal red line. Influencers made reaction videos analyzing the psychology behind the feud. Podcasts discussed the breakdown of boundaries in celebrity families. Commentators dissected the generational trauma patterns like they were hosting therapy sessions online. Even casual viewers who usually avoided drama found themselves pulled into the madness like it was a gravitational force. But the biggest shift came when the focus returned to Junior. People realized he was the only innocent one in the middle of all this. He didn't choose the spotlight. He didn't choose the insults. He didn't choose the chaos swirling around his name. Viewers began expressing concern for his emotional environment, his future mental health, and the tensions he's being raised in. The conversation became less about the insult and more about protecting a child growing up in a circus of adult egos. The irony of the situation was almost poetic. Karlissa insulted a baby thinking it would hurt Chrisean. Instead, it damaged her own public image more than any critic ever could. And what made the situation even more dramatic was how each day brought a new layer. One day, Karlissa posted a rant defending herself. The next, Chrisean dropped a cryptic message about peace. Then Blueface made a tweet that confused everyone again. Then cousins started chiming in. Then reaction channels stirred the pot. It became a never-ending cycle of shade, silence, explosions, and speculation. But as the chaos unfolded, one truth stood out more clearly than everything else. Some lines, once crossed, cannot be uncrossed. And when you attack somebody's child, especially a mother like Chrisean, that line becomes a wall. And that wall, it might stand for years. And there you have it, another explosive chapter in the never-ending saga known as the Blueface Cinematic Disasterverse, where every week feels like a new episode written by a team of sleep-deprived reality TV producers who ran out of plot lines and just started freestyling. But listen, before you sprint into the comments yelling, "Ain't no way she said that!" or "Somebody take Karlissa's Wi-Fi away," do me one favor, smash that like button like it just called your baby slow. Because over here at Fame Flaws, we don't just report drama, we unwrap it, dissect it, sprinkle some sarcasm on top, and serve it piping hot like the messy buffet you absolutely shouldn't eat from, but always come back to anyway. And trust me, with a family this chaotic, the scandals don't just drop, they fall from the sky like hailstones during a tornado. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button like you're trying to break generational curses. Turn on those notifications like you're waiting for your ex to text you back. And most importantly, drop a comment below telling me exactly who you think crossed the line. Because I already know y'all are about to fight in that comment section like it's Black Friday at Walmart. Should Chrisean cut ties forever? Should Blueface pick a side? Should Karlissa be banned from Instagram Lives until further notice? Let me know, because your opinion keeps this chaotic universe spinning. And remember, in the world of hype, shade, and celebrity meltdowns, the truth doesn't sparkle, the flaws do. The flaws do.